Let me get this. Participants. Wow. Oh, Anne's on, it looks
Yes.
like.
Welcome, Queen. Queen, can you hear me? Queen is Nicole's cousin, and it says connecting to audio, so she might still be connecting.
All right, then I will wait for Queen.
Rick, do you still want me to take minutes? He's muted.
No, I can do that for you.
Okay.
I can be the autogrammarian too if you want to.
I can be a grammarian.
Fair enough.
Is Nicole going to do an icebreaker speech, or do we still need a second speaker?
Nicole, do you think you want to do an icebreaker speech? It's only 4 minutes, and you talk about yourself. There's no way to get it wrong.
I guess I could.
You guess you could.
Well, I'm going to get the meeting going then, if that's okay. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome to the meeting today. Thank you all for attending. Welcome to our guest, Nicole, but I think you are a new member. Are you not? Did you join?
Yep.
All right, good. Then welcome to your first official meeting as a Washoe Zep Toastmaster. Thank you for joining. It's good to have you. And we welcome Queen if she can hear us, but maybe she's having trouble signing in, but we will await her arrival. What? Okay, anyways, let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Since I don't know if, oh, Christy has a flag, thank you very much. And if you will join me, we shall begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Hello, Brian. Good to see you again. Anne, welcome. I don't think you guys have been to our Zoom meetings yet, but they're going pretty well.
And Brian was in one of the first ones, I think.
More so. All right. Does anybody have any business they want to bring before the group before I hand it over to our Toastmaster for the day? Nothing? All right. Well, then I would like to introduce our Toastmaster today, none other than Omega Zareno. Omega.
Thank you, President. So first things first, we need to straighten out the roles. So speaker one is Steve Noonan. Thank you for volunteering. And Nicole is stepping up to do her icebreaker speech. So that's great. Evaluator one, evaluating Steve Noonan, is Anne. Anne's here. And I have evaluator two as Lynn. Is Lynn here? I don't see Lynn here. Does anybody want to evaluate Nicole's icebreaker speech?
I can do it.
All right, Chrissy. All right, I think, you know what, I think if everybody's here, we can just get started. So our awe counter, I'm gonna count a lot from me, is, who was the awe counter? That was Gina. Thank you, Gina, for volunteering. We have Steve Hendricks, general evaluator.
Who's the evaluator for speaker number one?
Speaker number one is Anne. Is that you?
Yes.
Talking.
I may have to bow out, so I don't know if I can do that role.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else want to evaluate?
Hi, this is Lynn. I think I was assigned as an evaluator.
Oh, there you are, Lynn. I didn't know you were there.
Hey.
Okay, Christy,
I'm here by audio because I might have to jet out. So I'm doing the best I can to say hi and be a part of it.
Okay. Lynn, do you want, or I'm sorry, Christy, do you want to be evaluator 1 for Steve?
For
Sure.
Steve Noonan?
Yeah, Lynn, you can evaluate Nicole, who's doing her icebreaker speech.
Either one.
Either one?
I'm happy to do either one.
Okay. So let's have Christy be evaluator 1, evaluating Steve, and then Lynn evaluating Nicole. As evaluator
Great.
2. And then Steve Hendricks is our general
Hi,
evaluator.
Nicole.
Hi.
I think everybody else is here for their role. Did we throw Rick in something? I don't think. I think all the roles are filled. If you want.
You know, since I'm a timer, should somebody else evaluate so I can time them?
Okay. Rick, is that you? You want a timer? You want to be the timer? Okay, Rick is timer. All right.
Christy wanted Rick to be evaluator, not timer.
Okay. All right. So our joke master today is Neil. Neil, do you have a joke for us?
I always got a joke.
Hey, Neil, let's hear your joke.
Are we all set to go? This has to do with human nature during the coronavirus and all of the different things that you must do to stay safe. I have personally washed my hands so many times in the last 2.5 months that the other day I looked down at my left hand and I could see letters. And the more I studied the letters, it dawned on me that they were the notes that I had put down for my civics final exam.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is the kind of wonderful things you can discover because
Yeah, very good.
You, Neil.
Wow.
Okay. I have Brian down for our positive mental attitude. Brian, you want to positive?
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's great to see you again, and I apologize for having been gone for a while, but my schedule is clearing up, and it's great to be back. I'd like to share, boy, there's quite a few quotes that I've found from various people along the same lines, but Ralph Waldo Emerson said once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. And Johann Goethe said something similar, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. And I offer these just to encourage any of you, if you're thinking about doing something big, go for it. I've noticed for me that when I launch into a project or decide to pursue an idea, I suddenly start meeting people or coming across ideas and finding other means of support that just seem to come. Maybe it's coincidence or synchronicity. I'm not quite sure what's at play there, but it definitely works. And if you're afraid to that things will take too long, the one thing I'm sure of is that time passes anyway. And as you do the work, one day you'll find you've arrived at your destination. So for those of you considering launching on a new project, I say go for it.
Thank you, Brian. And moving on, the word master is Elise. Is Elise here? Oh, Elise is here.
I sure am. All right, I am submitting it in the messages for those who have access to that. The word of the day is laconic. It's spelled L-A-C-O-N-I-C, laconic. It is an adjective, and it means using or involving the use of a minimum of words, concise to the point of seeming rude or mysterious. And I came across this word in a podcast that I was listening to. If anyone likes history, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History is a fantastic podcast. I suggest it highly. He does like 4 to 6 hour episodes really diving into an interesting topic. But anyway, he mentions that laconic comes from the word Laconia, which is the country that Sparta was the capital of. And it means of or pertaining to Laconia. And the entire people of Laconia and of Sparta spoke in such a concise, terse, almost bitingly smart manner that is how that word came to have its definition. An entire people had this way of speaking. And now that word laconic, referring to them, means being terse, concise, possibly being mysterious or rude. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Elise. So for those of you that are not familiar with the word of the day, we try to use our word of the day in our table topics speeches. And I believe that is next. Do we have? Right. Oh, I think table topics are next. So Ray is our table topics master today. So Ray, I'll turn it over to you.
We just had a guest join us. Should we introduce?
Yes.
Oh. Sure.
Hello.
Hi, Roberta.
Patricia.
Patricia.
Sorry I'm late. Yes.
So Elise, would you like to introduce Patricia?
I would be honored to introduce Patricia. Patricia Tierney is one of the most wonderful women I have ever had the pleasure of meeting and doing work with. She and I were AmeriCorps counterparts and moved to Reno at the same time in September of 2017. And she now works for the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection, doing watershed and water education for them. So I'm glad to see you here, Patricia.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Hi, everybody.
Oh, and she was also a
Hi.
part of our Toastmasters group before, for those of you who have not met her.
Well, welcome. All right. So we're getting ready to start our table topics. Ray is here. right?
What about Queen
Yeah,
Barnes?
I'm
Is
here.
okay. Do we want to have her introduced as a guest?
Yeah, there's always
Yes,
phone
I'm here.
here.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I would like if Nicole could introduce me.
Okay. Well, I guess I get to say that this is my wonderful and awesome cousin slash mentor and slash friend, artist Queen. And she is considering joining Toastmasters. I told her how much fun I had when I partook in the meeting and that I was joining, and she said, "Oh, I probably need to join too." And
That's
so,
right. Yes. Thank you, Nicole. That's my buddy. And we kind of do it a lot together. So that is wonderful. Actually, I'm enjoying it so far. So I probably will join. And I thank you guys. I'm just here as a guest today. I just had questioned just my having the time all the time. So if I miss something like that, just know I'm here in spirit, and I'll make a point to get back the next week or let you guys know. But I'm definitely interested. And yes, thank you. I'm a playwright also. So that's my creative venture there. So thank you.
Well, welcome, Queen.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Thank
welcome,
you.
welcome.
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 All right. All right. So where was I? Table topics.
Table
Ray.
topics. Yeah.
Ray, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and very welcome guests. I first apologize for my technical problems. I have a new Nighthawk router, wireless router, and it doesn't like my old laptop. So after I'm done with this, I will hopefully get back on the video. All right. Now, don't forget to use the word of the day, which is a very interesting one. The topic is going to be the same for everyone, and it's a question. First thing I'll do in phase 2, and I'm speaking of COVID phase 2. Everybody ready? All right. I think I'll call on my very good friend Neil Cobb since we haven't spoken for so long. Neil, what's the first thing you'll do in phase 2?
Number one, I'm going to get a haircut, even though it doesn't look like I need it from the front. The back is pretty shaggy. I thought seriously about going down to Fantasia, where Mary takes our Australian Shepherd to get his summer haircut. But I was told that that was not going to work for them. Something to do about my reputation, I'm not sure. The laconic, what a wonderful approach to really enter phase 2. You can apply this not just in your speaking pattern, but also your approach to what you're going to do and when. So there are things that I have been doing regardless of our governor's direction. I have completely weeded this entire acre with the deep ditch out front. I took it into consideration too, so it's all nice and clean. I put my back out of place twice. Mary was able to get it back into shape. She's heavy enough now that she can walk on my back and everything goes right back where it should. So these are the things that I've been able to accomplish and look forward to. Number one, a haircut.
Thank you, Neil. Did I lose you?
No, I just didn't
Okay,
sign
all
off.
right.
I was still getting used to this.
Continue.
Oh no,
Continue.
I was all done, but I did not.
Okay.
And that's all I have to say on the subject, Madam Topics Master. Really glad to have you back.
Okay. Thank you, Neil. Good to be back. Good to be back. All right. I think I'll call on Gina next. What's the first thing you'll do in phase 2?
Oh, thank you, Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests, Patricia and Queen. Wow, looks like I need to let Ray back into the meeting, but as I'm doing...
I'm back in. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Well, the first thing that I want to do in phase 2, and my husband emailed me what phase 2 included, and that would be bars, gyms, spas, movie theaters, and recreation centers. And I don't really drink that much, especially now that I have a 2-year-old kid. So I don't really go to bars, and I am not really good at health fitness. And so you can see by my wiry arm right here, I don't go to the gym. I actually, instead of going to the gym, I do Qigong. I ended up hiring a health coach who specializes in sleep. And his name is Mag Secretario. He's one of my clients, and he has been helping me set a healthier routine. So I do all of my exercise outside if I can, grounded with my barefoot. It's very woo-woo, but I do it like that. So I probably think I would either want to go to a movie or maybe a spa, because I know that I need a pedicure at some point. Fellow Toastmasters. And I totally forgot the word of the day.
Madam Table Topics Master, this is the timer. I was wondering if that might be helpful for our guests to be reminded of how the timing works for table topics, and to look at my screen for the green light, red light, and yellow light. Is that okay? Ray?
Are you there, Ray?
Ray, you there?
She's connected to the audio.
Okay. Anyway, while Ray's connecting,
there she is.
Just for
Connected.
Queen.
Sorry about
and,
that.
Patricia knows this, I think, but Queen, in table topics, you're doing a mini speech, and you need to speak for at least 1 minute, at which point I will put the green light on my screen and try to indicate that they have qualified. The yellow light will go on at 1 minute and 30 seconds. The red light will go on at 2 minutes, and you have 30 seconds after the red light to finish up at 2.5 minutes, no later than 2.5 minutes. If you go past that, you are disqualified. So thank you.
Are we ready again? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, next up. Brian, I have not met you before, so here I am.
Hi,
Good to
Ray.
meet
It's a
you. Glad
pleasure.
you're back. I'd like to know, what's the first thing you'll do in phase 2?
Wow. Madam Table Topics Master, thank you. I've been thinking about this, and there are so many things that I have missed over the last couple months. I love restaurants. I love the occasional time out at a bar now that my son is 16. And I love live music. I love being with other people. I miss our meetings in that beautiful room at Schwab. But honestly, I have to say, I am not confident enough with our understanding of this disease, how it impacts people, what threats, whether we can be reinfected, what the impacts are. And I have a son with a compromised immune system. I'm also of that age where people tend to be more at risk. And so honestly, although I can't wait to go out and get some good food, and if I find some maybe outdoor dining that has good ventilation and people are wearing masks, I'd love to go out for dinner. Eating with a mask is a whole different story, but we'll get there. And I'm sorry, I'm not being laconic because I have a time requirement and I'm not quite sure how those two compare. But honestly, I think I'm gonna sit back and wait and see how things go. And we'll take it one step at a time, one day at a time. Thank you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Brian. We have time for one more, Madam Toastmaster?
Can you hear me? Yes. We have time for one more.
Okay. Steve Noonan, what's the first thing you'll do in phase 2?
Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, welcome to our guests. Thank you for coming today. While this COVID-19 episode certainly has been not very pleasant for anybody and most people, I took advantage of it in the sense that I have gotten started a lot of things that I've been putting off. And what I'm going to do in phase 2 is continue what I'm doing in phase 1. I work out of the house. I've been working out of my house for a couple of years, well, more than that, maybe a decade actually. Therefore, the quarantine was never that big a deal. I thought, wow, here I am in quarantine. I've been here all along. But what I've done is tried to initiate a few things, one of which was everybody talks about drinking water. Oh, it's good for you. Drink water all the time. And I thought, well, I'll try that since I really can't leave the house too much. So I fill up my quart water bottle and I drink 2 quarts a day. And to be honest with you, it really does work. I feel like I have a lot of energy. I feel healthier. I feel more robust. So I'm pretty excited about that. People talk so much about it and I thought it was bunk, but I really think it is true. I also got started my landscaping project in my backyard, which is all heavy labor, and I think I'm a little bit too old to be doing that. I want to be more laconic physically and not have to dig in the dirt like I did in my 30s and my 40s. But I got it started, and once you get it started, I feel like, okay, let's get it finished. But it's a lot of digging and rolling of rocks. I also have gotten going more on being less glued to the internet. I told myself, well, we got to accomplish something during this quarantine, so let's get that done as well. And I've been able to turn it off in the morning and get more work done. So in conclusion, I think I don't really have anything to do in phase 2. I'm not really pining to go out yet. I'm actually getting a lot of things done at the house, and that's, I think, where I want to keep it. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you.
Hey.
Mr.
Right.
Timer, were all of our speakers on time?
Madam Topics Master, all of our speakers were on time.
And who used the word?
Well, Steve Noonan did, and I didn't catch who else did.
Neil, I caught Neil and Gina both did also.
I
Okay.
did not use the word, but
you
Neil
didn't.
used it, Brian used it, and Steve used it.
Okay.
Okay.
So Gina, would you instruct everybody on how to vote?
All right, so we're on Zoom, and we'll need to select the vote counter. Actually, who is the vote counter?
I believe that's Rick.
Is it Rick? Okay, so Rick is the vote counter. So what you do is you, in the to field, instead of everyone, you select Rick, and that sends him a private note, and you can put the name of the person who you thought was the best table topic speaker. So the first speaker was Neil, I was the second table topic speaker, Brian was the third, and Steve Noonan was the fourth.
All right. Before I hand this back over to Madam Toastmaster, I wanted to say to Neil, see this right here? This is because my bangs were down here yesterday, and if you look real close, they're not real even, and they're real short up here. So my hairdresser, when they finally open, is probably going to be very angry. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ray.
Glad I don't
Someone
have
that's
that
had
problem.
bangs for years, I can understand why you would want to go ahead and have at it. They grow back fast, so I'm pretty sure your hairdresser will
They do.
get to carry you. All right, let's move on to the formal speeches. Speaker 1 is Steve Noonan, and evaluating him is Christy. Christy, do you want to give Steve some pointers on what you expect from him?
Well, Steve, what is the title of your speech?
All right, well, I had sent my evaluation form to Ann Kate, so I don't think she sent that on to you. But the title of my speech is A Fable Worth Giving. It's a fable that I'm going to talk about or give. And it's from the Storytelling Advanced Manual on the old Competent Communicator track, if you want to call it that way, the old Toastmasters track. It's 7 to 9 minutes long. And my intent and purpose is to tell this table, or fable rather, excuse me, you know, and try and use gestures and make it worth listening to and make it something enjoyable.
Great. Okay, so Madam Toastmaster, Steve Noonan will be sharing a story with us called A Fable Worth Giving. It's 7 to 9 minutes. He will be using gestures to help make sure that it engages us and is entertaining. And so with that, I think you get to introduce him.
Okay, great. Sounds great. Everybody, Steve Noonan, A Fable Worth Giving. Steve Noonan.
In the Dutch colonial town, later known as Albany, New York, there lived a baker, Van Amsterdam, who was as honest as he could be. Each morning he checked and balanced his scales, took great care to give his customers exactly what they paid for. Not more, but not less. Van Amsterdam's shop was always busy because people trusted him and because he was a good baker as well. And never was the shop busier than the day before St. Nicholas Day. That was December 6th. At this time of year, people flocked to the baker's shop to buy his fine St. Nicholas cookies. Made of gingerbread, iced in red and white, they looked just like St. Nicholas, as the Dutch know him, tall and thin, with a high red bishop's cap and a long red bishop's cloak. One St. Nicholas Day morning, the baker was just ready for business, getting ready for all the people to come in, when the door flew open and in walked an old woman wrapped in a black, long shawl. "I have come for a dozen of your St. Nicholas cookies," she said. Taking a tray, Van Amsterdam counted out 12 cookies. He started to wrap them up, but the woman reached out and stopped him. "I asked for a dozen. You gave me only 12. "Madam," said the baker, "everyone knows that a dozen is 12. "But I say a dozen is 13, said the woman. "Give me one more." Van Amsterdam was not a man to bear foolishness. "Madam, my customers get exactly what they pay for, not more, and certainly not less." "Then you may keep the cookies," she said. The woman turned to go, but stopped at the door. "Van Amsterdam, however honest you may be, your heart is small and your fist is tight. Fall again, mount again, and learn how to count again." Then she was gone. From that day, everything went wrong in Van Amsterdam's bakery. His bread rose too high or not at all. His pies were too sour or too sweet. His cakes crumbled or were chewy. His cookies were burnt or they were doughy. His customers soon noticed the difference. Before long, most of them were going to other bakers. "That old woman has bewitched me," said the baker to himself. "Is this how my honesty is rewarded?" A year passed. The baker grew poorer and poorer. Since he sold little, he baked little, and his shelves were nearly bare. His last few customers slipped away. Finally, on the day before St. Nicholas Day, not one customer came to Van Amsterdam's shop. At the day's end, the baker sat alone, staring at his unsold St. Nicholas cookies. "I wish St. Nicholas could help me now," he said. Then he closed his shop and went sadly to bed. That night, the baker had a dream. He was a boy again, one in a crowd of happy children, and there in the midst of them was St. Nicholas himself. The bishop's white horse stood beside him, its baskets filled with gifts. St. Nicholas pulled out one gift after another and handed them to the children. But Van Amsterdam noticed something strange. No matter how many presents Nicholas passed out, there were always more to give. In fact, the more he took from the baskets, the more they seemed to hold. Then Nicholas handed a gift to Van Amsterdam. It was one of the baker's own St. Nicholas cookies. Van Amsterdam looked up to thank him, but it was no longer St. Nicholas standing there. Smiling down at him was the old woman with the long black shawl. Van Amsterdam woke with a start. Midlight shone through the half-closed shutters as he lay there thinking. "I always give my customers exactly what they pay for," he said. Not more and not less, but why not more? He thought to himself. The next morning, St. Nicholas Day. The baker rose early. He went downstairs, he mixed his gingerbread dough and rolled it out. He molded the shapes and baked them. He iced them in red and white to look just like St. Nicholas. And the cookies were as fine as he had ever made. Van Amsterdam had just finished when the door flew open and in walked the old woman in the long black shawl. I have come for a dozen of your St. Nicholas cookies, she said. In great excitement, Van Amsterdam counted out 12 cookies and one more. In this shop, he said, from now on, a dozen is 13. You have learned to count well, said the woman. You will surely be rewarded. She paid for the cookies and started out. But as the door swung shut, the baker's eyes seemed to play a trick on him. He thought he glimpsed the tail end of a long red cloak. As the old woman foretold, Van Amsterdam was rewarded. When people heard he counted 13 as a dozen, he had more customers than ever before. In fact, Van Amsterdam grew so wealthy that the other bakers in the town began doing the same. From there, the practice spread to the other towns and at last throughout all the American colonies. And this, they say, is how 13 became the baker's dozen. Madam Toastmaster.
Oh, it's so good. Yay!
Rick, Steve, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Is this just a fable, or is there historical accuracy in the origin of Baker's dozen?
As far as I understand, it's a fable, but maybe the fable is based on truth. I don't know.
That is pretty.
But it makes sense. It's a good lesson.
I always wondered how they came up with the baker's dozen, and that, that's a great story. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, don't be greedy.
Yeah. Okay, Nicole, are you ready to do your icebreaker speech?
Okay.
Okay, so if you're, Mr. Timer, do you want to explain the icebreaker timing for Nicole?
Yes, Madam Toastmaster. Nicole will be doing an icebreaker speech, which is 4 to 6 minutes. At 4 minutes, I will put the green light in front of my screen.
Can you see
At 5 minutes, I will put the yellow light in front of my screen. And then at 6 minutes, the red light comes on. She will have 30 seconds after that. She has a 30-second grace period both before and after the timing. So she could actually finish and qualify at 3 minutes and 30 seconds and as late as 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
Rick, you might have to give her a verbal cue because she's blind. She won't see
yes.
the
My
green,
mistake.
yellow, and red.
I'll put the green light on and I will whisper 4 minutes.
All right.
5 minutes, etc.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Timer. All right. Nicole, did you have a title for your speech, or do you want to just call it Nicole's icebreaker speech?
I didn't have a title. I guess I didn't know I was going to be volunteered.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We can just call it Nicole's icebreaker speech. And evaluating Nicole is going to be Lynn. Lynn, you're still here, right?
I'm here.
Okay, great. Did you want to tell Nicole any pointers about how you're going to evaluate her?
Well, I think Rick covered most of it. And since Nicole has decided to call this Nicole's icebreaker speech, that takes care of the title. Hang on one second. I'm getting a lot of kickback. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, you're a little bit echoey.
Am I echoey?
Yeah,
We can
but
hear
we
you,
can
though.
still understand you, so not too bad.
I'm just hearing a lot of background noise right now. So I just wondered if everyone can hear me all right, especially Nicole.
Yeah.
Nicole, we're so excited to hear your icebreaker speech. As you know, one of the main purposes of the icebreaker speech is to encourage you to tell us about yourself and let the members know who you are and what your story is. So we look forward to hearing from you.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay.
Oh.
Oops. Sorry. Well, if we're ready to get going, so I'll give you the floor, everybody. Lynn, I'm sorry, Lynn. I'm sorry about it. Nicole is doing her icebreaker speech. So everybody, please welcome Nicole.
Okay. So I'm Nicole Thompson Andrews, and I was born premature, and so I lost my sight at 3 months. So of course I don't remember any of it. But so there's that, and so I live with my mom, my dad, and my aunt, and we currently live in Greensboro, but we used to live in Detroit, and then before that, my mom, dad, and I lived in California. So I've lived a couple of different places, and I use assistive technology. It's called JAWS for Windows, and it's a screen reader, so it reads, pretty much what's on the screen, when I'm using the computer, as long as it doesn't have a lot of graphics and images and visual things. But it reads mainly text. If the image has an alt text attribution, it'll read that. And the alt text would be like whatever is in the image, so it would be describing the image. So I'm a beginning entrepreneur, and I am setting up to become a digital accessibility consultant. So that means I would be helping people reviewing their websites and different digital platforms for accessibility, make sure they're following the accessibility guidelines, and make sure they're ADA compliant, and and rating if it's accessible or not, and giving recommendations. So I've begun partnering with an organization called Ability Anywhere, and she's helping me with getting clients. So I would be partnering with them, and we would be doing projects together, but I'll also be getting my own clients. And I also write. I write under Melissa Green, and I write speculative fiction. Dark intergalactic culinary thrillers is a genre I kind of created. But I also write other speculative fiction things, and I write scriptural poems also. And I'm creating a YouTube channel called Uniquely Able, and it is designed to change the concept of what it means to have a disability. And I'm also wanting to add public speaking to my business, my brand. So hence I am now a member of Toastmasters.
4 minutes.
Okay. And so at first I had thought I would add on consulting. I would have my writing be the main part of my business, and then I was knowing I would add some more things, but I wasn't sure what they would be yet. But now everything's kind of flipped around, and I have an idea of the consulting, and so I'm going to have that be a main part of my brand, and along with my YouTube channel. And my writing and speaking will be, I guess, additions to the business. And I guess that's all I got so far.
Thank you, Nicole.
5 minutes. Perfect.
Great.
All right, let's move right along to our evaluations. I guess I need to introduce our general evaluator, who is Steve Hendricks, I believe.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, so I am the general evaluator today, and my job is to evaluate the meeting as a whole and also to introduce the individual evaluators for the speeches. And while the evaluators are putting their notes together for their evaluations, I think this has been a really great meeting so far. I'm really encouraged by the number of people that we're getting at the Zoom meetings. It's, I think this is kind of the way a lot of things are going to go in this new normal. I know I do more Zoom meetings in my business. You know, if we didn't have these Zoom meetings, we wouldn't have people like Nicole and Queen here, and, you know, having members from other parts of the country. And that's really a fascinating thing to think about. So it's really encouraging, and thank you for being the first one, Nicole.
Yep.
and we look forward to Queen joining us. You know, we've had some really good table topics from Ray, and those were all interesting thoughts. My take is I haven't really been following the protocol because I'm like Steve Noonan. You know, I work from home, and there really hasn't been much of a change in mine, except for doing takeout meals instead of going to a restaurant, and not being able to go to movies. So, so great table topics, great speeches. Steve, that's a great story that you gave, and it'd be interesting to find out if there's any historical value to that. Nicole, your speech was inspiring. I look forward to hearing more about the things you're doing in the future, because it's ambitious, but it's something that it sounds to me like you have the potential to do it and make it work. So good luck on that.
Thanks.
And other than that, let's get to the first evaluation, and that would be Christy evaluating Steve Noonan. Christy.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, and welcome everybody, especially our guests, and especially Steve Noonan, who always gives a great speech. Honestly, Steve, I have to say you are such a smooth and confident speaker. I'm always really impressed by your ability. You just seem to get better and better. I have to say, quick question, were you reading that? Because honest to God, you were so smooth and accurate with all of your wording and everything else with the storyline and all that. Only a little bit, he says. He was only reading a little bit. I would have had the book right there outside of the line of camera because I don't know how you were able to do that and be so smooth and confident and everything else. So kudos to you. I mean, you were just amazing. Someone I really look up to and admire in speaking. And I don't think you said once. If you did, I totally missed it, which is why I'm such a poor grammarian. So I just thank you. It was wonderful. As far as a fable, I thought it was very effective. One of the things that you had said in your goals was to be able to use hand gestures. And this is a really difficult format to do hand gestures. I get that. I totally get that. But I feel like you did a great job. The door flew open, or there were different opportunities for you, I think, to do hand gestures. Like, for instance, when the door flew open, you could have done something like this. When you filled, is that red? Is that supposed to be red, Rick? What the hell is that?
I forgot to do that. Sorry, I forgot to do the timing.
You're killing me, man. So
We got 30 seconds. How's that sound?
30 seconds?
Yep.
Wow, look at me not being laconic. My other suggestion is to use your computer in a better way. Your angle right now is kind of down. I think it would have been more effective if you had put it up so that you were looking more directly into the camera, because that would have given you space for more hand gestures. So those are just a couple of things I noticed, and mainly because I was trying to find something to give you suggestions on, because that's the job of the evaluator. But really, it's a beautiful speech. Well done. It was, look forward to the next one. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Christy. Good job. What a way to wing it when the timer is off balance, right?
Seriously.
That's what I love about this group. All right. Lynn, are you with us?
Lynn is with us.
All right, and you're sounding better than before, so please welcome Lynn to evaluate Nicole's speech.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guests, and especially Nicole. Nicole, I'm sorry I can't see you, and you can't see me, but I'm in my car, and it was a little difficult to get the Zoom working, so I decided to go audio so that I could join you all. And
Right.
Nicole, what is your last name?
Thompson Andrews.
Nicole Thompson Andrews?
Yep. Yeah.
Thompson,
Hyphenated.
I'm Thompson too. I'm Lynn
Oh,
Thompson.
wow.
Yeah, very nice to meet you.
Wow.
And Nicole, your speech immediately engaged us, even though it sounds like you didn't have a lot of time to prepare, because I heard you say you didn't know you were going to be volunteered, but you immediately engaged us by telling us that you've been blind since you were 3 months old. That is an amazing thing to tell us and to live with. And thank you for sharing that with us. And then as you continue to tell us more about yourself, you're so busy, you just loaded your speech up with all of the activities and all of the goals that you have, your a budding entrepreneurship program for digital accessibility. It sounds like your timing could not be any better than right now, when all of us are so dependent on technology and digital accessibility. It sounds like a wonderful program. I'd love to know more about that. As Steve said, everything that
2
you
minutes.
told us is so inspiring.
Great.
You let us know about your family. So currently you live with your mom, dad, and your aunt?
Right.
And you mentioned Greensboro and California. And are you currently living in the Reno area, or where are you currently living?
Greensboro.
I'm sorry?
Greensboro.
Greensboro. Okay.
North Carolina.
Yep.
In North Carolina. And that is really interesting that you decided to join our Toastmaster group. Well, maybe that's another speech for you. You can let us know how you picked our great Washoe Zep group here in Reno, Nevada from Greensboro, North Carolina.
Actually, Gina invited me, and because when I was looking, I was wanting to join a few months or so ago, and I was looking at hours Toastmaster.
3 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
Nicole, I mean, and usually the format for an evaluator is to continue and evaluate your speech, and then we can talk afterward. But I'm so interested to know more about you, so I appreciate you kind of jumping in. But typically, that is not what we do. And so let me finish my evaluation in my very non-laconic manner here, and just tell you that after hearing about your entrepreneurial goal of developing your digital accessibility program, then you'd let us know that you also are a writer of, what kind of a fiction writer did you say?
Speculative fiction.
Speculative fiction, and your pen name of Melissa Green, then your YouTube program, Changing Your Perspective of Disability. I mean, you are a powerhouse. Incredible, and what a pleasure to hear from you and to know you. As you proceed and with us in Washoe Zephyrs, you'll learn about maybe taking a little more time to give us a title. A title of a speech is great because it piques everybody's interest, and a little work on your organization of an introduction and 3 or 4 points in your speech and a nice conclusion. But otherwise, I thought that you were just so inspiring and so interesting to listen to. You did a wonderful job. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
All right, thanks, Lynn.
Madam, okay, good. Mr. General Evaluator.
All right. First of all, I would be amiss if I didn't welcome Patricia back. It was good to see you, and hopefully you're going to rejoin and have all this fun every couple of weeks. So, all right, I'm going to move things along and send it back to the Toastmaster because we still need votes. And were all the evaluators on time, Rick?
Mr. General Evaluator, well, I didn't really time Christy, but when I said 30 seconds, she made the 30-second time frame. And then Lynn went over, but a good minute of that is her conversation with Nicole directly, which we may be able to just go ahead and take that out. And if you do that, then they both were within time.
And both speakers were in time, I'm presuming.
Thanks,
sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So everybody send your votes to Rick, and I'll turn it back over to our Toastmaster, Omega.
Thank you, Steve. I just realized that Steve Noonan reminded me that I forgot the educational minute. I am so sorry. So yeah, I need to get my notes ready. I was not very prepared to be the Toastmaster, but we got through that meeting. Again, sorry about that, Steve. And since we're running out of time, well, let's just go straight into our grammarian report. Gina, if you want to let us know how horrible I did with all my ahs.
Oh, I did not catch any from myself, which is the hardest thing when you're speaking yourself. So I know I had probably at least one. I caught 5 ums from Omega, but you were pretty clean and your voice comes through very clearly. So I thought the meeting ran really smoothly. I caught 3 ums from Elise. And
That's
Brian,
so
I
much better
caught
than usual.
12. So I think we're talking about the 12 from the fable. You were in synchronicity with Steve's speech. And
Not a big
Christy, I caught 2 ums. Steve Hendricks, I caught 1 you know, 1 so, and 3 ums. I didn't catch anything from Ray. I caught 10 so's from Nicole, 10 ums. It was usually so, and I caught 1 and 1 you know, and that was it.
Thank you, Gina. And if we sent all of our votes in, Mr. Timer, vote counter, do we have some winners to announce?
Yes, we do, Madam Toastmaster. Well, these are very close contests. We'll start with table topics. The winner of table topics was a tie between Steve Noonan and Brian Beffert. There they both got first. With respect to evaluator, the best evaluator today was Christy. Big round of applause.
Even with
And,
my what the hell?
yeah, exactly.
That was the best part.
That's the
Yeah, I
best
think
part. That's why you
clinched it
won.
with that one.
And for the speaker, very interesting, because that turned out to be a tie also. Now, Steve Noonan obviously advanced and had a book speech to follow, which he followed to a T. The point of best speaker is you want to vote for the person who did the best job for the goals that they are given. Now, Nicole is doing an icebreaker, and the goal there is to survive. But not only did she do an icebreaker, she pretty much did it impromptu and didn't even know she had to do it. So that was pretty amazing. And that probably explains why there is a virtual tie, not a virtual, an actual tie between both Nicole and Steve as best speakers. It was not one of those things where a participation award kind of deals. They were well earned for both of them.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
We are about to wrap up our meeting, so I can turn this back over to our president, Mr. Steve Noonan. Oh, you're muted.
How did I mute? All right, thank you, Omega. We're a little over time, but before we go, we always like to hear from our guests. Queen, would you like to give us a few thoughts about the meeting today? Maybe what you liked about it, or maybe what you enjoyed about it. Are you there, Queen?
I just would have to get used to.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
Queen, you're
can't
pretty
hear me?
low.
Oh, I know why. Wait, my speaker. Let me turn it off. I was saying, can you hear me better?
Oh, yes, much better.
Okay, yeah, my speaker, I'm sorry. I liked the meeting a lot, and I would just need to get used to the format. So maybe I'll listen in more. I wasn't prepared today, so that's why I didn't come in through video, but I will next time. I'll be prepared for it. And yeah, I liked it a lot, the organization. And I guess what I get from it, not knowing anything about Toastmasters, is that whatever you're talking about or whatever you're doing is all geared towards improving you as a public speaker, correct?
Correct. It's set up to afford you the opportunity to speak in various roles, which, you know, it's a lot of practice you can get in one meeting if you hold a lot of roles.
Ah, okay.
And
Thank
Queen,
you.
and Queen, this is Brian. I don't know if you can see me, but there are also a lot of really helpful resources from Toastmasters on the Toastmasters website and such that are really good for training you to be a better speaker.
Oh, okay. And then, so membership allows you the opportunity to utilize it. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. And you actually begin a track of education, and you achieve certain milestones along the way by accomplishing certain tasks. They call that the pathways.
Okay. Didn't know that. Okay, wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you, Queen, and thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see more of you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Patricia, nice to have you back. Last we heard you were in Florida, is that correct? And now you're back in the Nevada area? Oh, you're muted.
I have been back for 1.5 years almost.
Oh, well, wonderful.
Yeah, and I've been down in Carson though. That's why you haven't seen me. and the quarantine has not suited me very well. So it's so nice to see some familiar faces and some new faces, and I would definitely consider rejoining.
Oh, good. Well, please consider it seriously, and we'd love to have you back if you can afford the time, and whenever you can make it, that'd be wonderful, but let us know.
Thank you.
All right, good. Is there any other business we need to discuss before we adjourn our meeting today?
I know we're over time, but I do want to remind the club that we have till June 30th to have 20 members. So we have a ways to go, and we're very fortunate to have some new guests and new members here. So we encourage you to keep inviting people to the next 2 meetings.
Indeed.
Well, and Gina, it was your mom, Rita, that reconnected me with Toastmasters, because I did a talk at Ollie about water, and she was in the audience, and we just kind of reconnected, and she sort of had the great idea of talking to you, and you invited me to come back, so thank you.
All right. Thank you
All
for
right.
showing up today.
Networking in action. Good. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks proper, June 11th. Hopefully everyone can make it. If you would like to speak, please let Elise know so you can get on the schedule. We always like to have speakers signed up early and afford you the most time to prepare. Otherwise, if there is no more business to come before the group, I shall adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next time. Meeting adjourned.
Hey.
Bye, everybody.
Everybody, thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Take care of yourselves.